Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on Superman and Lois Season 3, and this is going to be my review for Episode 9 for this season, otherwise entitled The Dress, and oh boy, was this one an emotional one that I was not expecting. It definitely caught me off guard. But of course, if you've not watched the episode, go away because we're going to be talking about all the reveals and spoilers in this episode. It's actually just a very core emotion-driven, character-driven episode with one big reveal, which we'll see play out next step, maybe next episode, but next couple of episodes, obviously leading up to the finale. But man, it's just emotional. But yeah, I guess spoilers if you don't want to get spoiled for the emotional stuff either. But if you have watched the episode and you are continuing on, be sure to let me know in the comment section down below your various opinions on this episode, what you love, what you hate, favorite moments, everything like that. Any theories and predictions moving forward, always curious to read them. And of course, if you're going to enjoy the video, you enjoyed the episode, just want to show support, drop a like on the video. It takes 2 seconds. So last episode, obviously we had a bit of a break. I think we took 1 week off before this episode, but last episode we had Bruno revealed as Mateo's father to John Henry, which was, led to some drama, and Pia is revealed as the masked meta assassin to also John Henry, but also Superman. We as the audience already knew, but that's a big reveal to them. But the big reveal to us, the audience, and also the characters, was that Lex Luthor was actually framed by Pia and Bruno all those years in the past, and he's been rotting away in jail since that point. So whenever he gets out, he's going to be a triggered bald man. He's not going to be very happy. But right at the end of the episode, we do have Pia taken to the DOD by Superman in order to save her, but they're also keeping her there as a bit of a prisoner as well, so she can't go out and, kill anyone else like she's been doing. But overall, this episode this might be a big claim. I think it's the best episode of the season so far. I think the writing, the acting, the directing, just as an episode, I think this is clearly the best episode of the season. You might disagree because it wasn't like action. Well, there's action in this episode as well. So I can't even say there wasn't. There was. It was a really cool fight scene. I think this is the best episode of not this season. I think this potentially has I'd have to rewatch it and just think back to some of those other episodes that are, in the upper echelon. But I think this might be, it's at the very least one of the best episodes the show's ever done. But I think if you, break it down to the specific areas and stuff like that, acting, writing, action, CGI, not wasting time, involving all the characters on the show as well, or at least most of the characters in a very consistent way that actually matters, this could be the best episode the show's ever done. I don't know if that's a big claim or not, but I was sitting there just going, man, this is solid all around. I think Christy Korvek was the screenwriter for the episode, or who wrote the episode, and she nailed it. She nailed this episode. Like, as I said, it was across the board. Bitsy Tulloch, MVP. I don't know how the Emmys work, but man, I know it's very biased in regards, there's always one show that just gets nominated for heaps of stuff and wins it with the Emmys and stuff like that. But man, I think this might be Bitsy Tulloch's best episode as Lois in regards to the acting side of things. She was so good. This episode as a whole was just insanely good. I can't actually get over it. It was just that good. But yeah, let's just break it down because I can just say it's that good so many times, but let's actually talk about it and sort of reveal why it was so good. So this episode had flashbacks. Now, we knew we were getting flashbacks in this episode because Bitsy Tulloch herself, who plays Lois, did say that she was doing flashback scenes. I don't know if there's more this season, but I know it was probably around this episode when they were filming episode 9, maybe 10, that she said it. So this was episode 9, so it makes sense that these were the flashback scenes that she was talking about. But when Lex Luthor comes in, there might be more flashback scenes there, but that's a wait and see. But yeah, we flash back to 17 years ago with Clark and Lois at the Daily Planet. It was really cool to go back there. Wasn't expecting it in the episode, with the two actually planning their wedding. Now, we know, thanks to the pilot episode, it took place at the Kent farm, which at the end of the episode is where they agreed to do it. Lois brings it up. But yeah, they're struggling. Well, not struggling financially, but they just don't have $1 billion to spend on a wedding. Now, Lois is actually being nominated for a journalism award, might I say, which she doesn't really care for too much. It's not a Pulitzer, so is it really that big of an award? But, she's sort of motivated to, be happy about it. But we then do flash forward to the present day, showing that Lois's treatment is going well and on the positive side. However, they're about to go to the next stage, which involves some surgery, which is revealed. It's specifically talked about later in the episode. I don't know if in this opening scene they actually mention it. It went past my head if they actually did mention it. If they did, then okay, whatever. I missed it. But I don't know if it was meant to be a reveal later in the episode what the specific surgery was. Because, when you think about what Lois is going through, there's one big one that is, quite effective, but also, a bit of a struggle. But I don't know if they mentioned it the earlier parts of the episode, but they might have. Now we have Bruno Mannheim presenting himself to the DOD as he wants to not only have a chat, but mainly see his wife Pia. Now, John Henry handles the confrontation. He really wants to be the one that's leading this just because I think he just knows that, especially with Superman, that there's that sympathetic side, and Superman would just sort of like, maybe not let Bruno walk over him, but, Superman would probably let Bruno go see Pia, or maybe, behind a window or whatever it might be. But John doesn't even want to give him any sort of crumbs. But yeah, so John handles that confrontation, and Bruno is, he's not happy with the outcome, can we say that? Now, he says he's going to get to his wife one way or another. Obviously, the question is, what's another in this situation? Because it could go different ways with good old Bruno Mannheim. But Superman and John do have a bit of a fiery back and forth over this, with John standing his ground on the situation. He is very strong on this, and he's not backing down. And I am very, very interested to see where John goes. Not only later in this episode, I was very intrigued by it, but also later into the season. Is he going to go down a darker route, especially with what he does later in the episode, in this episode, which could, scar him a bit. Scars was, I guess, maybe a bit of a theme, if you want to put in this episode, I guess, or battle scars. I don't know what you want to call it. But I'm intrigued to see what the actions of this episode, both in this situation early in the episode, but also later, lead into later parts of this season or even next episode. Now, we do get to return to some more flashbacks with Lois, and she is like swept up with work and not wanting to go to the gala where she, she was nominated for that award. But Clark does buy her this red dress via the selling of his baseball card collection, which was very prized. So a big exchange with his, deed here, changing Lois's mind and her going as it's like the first time someone's really bought her a dress. But in the present day, we see Lois not really treating the dress with that much, sentimental value at all, and puts it towards the Harvest Festival clothing drive. And Clark finds it and is like really shocked by it, with Lois not wanting to debate it and pretty much saying like, she doesn't want to, hold on to it for its past when it might not have a future, if that sort of makes sense. And obviously this is elaborated more later in the episode, but you can tell that Lois is very emotional over this. And it's really highlighting Lois's shift in viewpoint as we do get further and further into this journey with her and how much things are affecting her, both physically and emotionally. However, when Clark does tell the story around the dress to Lana, Lana says she's going to take it upon herself to talk to Lois, but of course we'll come back to that when it's, all said and done. This was what I was meaning, like, characters weren't just popping up and just being like, oh, I'm here for a scene, let's have a chat. When characters were showing up, it felt like they were warranted being there, like some characters, like Kyle's not even in this episode, Chrissy's not in this episode. So everyone was just sort of relevant when they showed up, which I think was really, really important, and why this episode felt so good and so well paced and just flowed really well. Now, John Henry does feel some pushback from Bruno Mannheim after denying him access to PR, with his goons showing up in Smallville. And this is while he is actually with Natalie. Now, luckily for John Henry, he'd actually given Natalie a weapon to protect herself, which is like a big cow prod sort of like rod, like fun, like lightning rod, like taser rod thing. So that's ready for use when the goons arrive. And John just goes beast mode. He just unleashes on them. But this whole situation is really upsetting Natalie due to her care for Mateo. And Jonathan does tap in and decide to help Natalie in this situation despite all the drama going on. But of course, this is going to involve Natalie going behind her dad's back. So I think we all knew that was probably going to catch up and there'd be some more drama around that. Now, as I said, Clark went to Lana or brought up the whole dress story to Lana, and Lana's like, well, I'll take it for myself. I'll talk to Lois. So Lana does go talk to Lois to talk about the dress, with Lois being very forceful against talking about it. But this is then when like Lana's able to sort of, tap in a bit more, and Lois dives into what's next. And that is a mastectomy, which is, pretty much like the removal of the breast tissue to possibly prevent cancer being an issue again going forward. It doesn't completely wipe it out, but it's a good preventing measure, if you want to put it. Now, this of course can just be a big insecurity issue as to a woman due to just feeling less like a woman due to it. And it's a very real thing. But yeah, this is like a very real situation that women go through all the time in regards to the whole breast cancer type of situation and the whole procedure around it and trying to get better. So, and of course, it would be an insecurity issue. Like, you think about it, like, I think it makes a lot of sense. And this storyline, I think, has been very real in both a positive and negative way for people watching as well. Like, you'd want a accurate representation of it, but also if you know someone or you've gone through it yourself, it hits home and can bring up those past things or whatever it might be. So yeah, it's real, but I think it's the right way to do it, to attack it in a real way. Now, of course, I was very surprised that this is the route the show was going to go down, but I think it's, as I said, I just feel like it's the right way to go, if that makes sense, just to make it actually feel real, like sort of like, making it very Hollywood, making it very TV, where everything's just convenient and there is no struggle. Like the struggle is, I have cancer, but now it's cured, man. Like all of a sudden it's cured. They're actually going through a somewhat real struggle with it, which I think is people can appreciate, though it can bring up some, past wounds or, bad memories. But as I said earlier, Bitsy Tulloch was an MVP in this episode by far. And it was like these scenes where, it was those one-on-one scenes like with Lana early in the episode with Clark and even some stuff later on where she just shined and just amazing. So good. Now, Superman does go to Metropolis to talk to Bruno to try and cut a deal to let him actually see Pia. However, Superman promises that he will be able to see Pia if he gives the DOD what they want. But this is the issue. After the goons strolled into Smallville, in their big black van and their suits and everything like that, and John Henry sort of wailed on them, John Henry was actually pushed, or I guess John Henry pushed General Lane more specifically to go after Bruno as soon as possible, and the two meet up at the worst possible time. Superman not overly happy with John Henry's move, but also General Lane isn't very happy with John Henry because it was a very emotional move and sort of jumped the gun. There wasn't actually a specific reason to do it at that point. So yeah, John Henry is getting frowned upon by a couple of people due to his, all these like moves being driven by like such emotional reasons. But speaking of emotional reasoning, we have Mateo meeting Natalie after the whole, Jonathan sorting it out and everything like that. And he actually reveals that John Henry is keeping Pia away from Mateo or from himself. So obviously this is news to Natalie and she's a bit like concerned about it. Like, what the hell? I didn't know about that. That's really, surprising. But they push all that other drama to the side and are able to reconnect. So they're on good terms for the most part. It's more on their family side where the drama now lies. But this is where the action part of the episode kicked in. Superman and Lois does have a formula, I would say, to an episode. Sometimes you don't get an action scene in an episode, but if you do, they'll spend like 3/4 of the episode with that story character stuff, and then there'll just be an action scene. Sometimes it's led in from previous stuff in the episode. Sometimes it just happens. It's a formula which I think some people have caught on to. Like I've definitely caught on to it, and I can see it. You can sort of feel it coming in certain episodes. I don't really have an issue with it for the most part, but it does feel like a formula, and some people might get annoyed by it eventually, but I think because we're heading into the later stage of this season, won't be in that formula style. It's mainly just for like really like these opening, third to 2/3 of the season where you get that formula. But it continues in this episode with the action scene, and that is when Bruno actually sends Henry Miller over to Smallville to attack John Henry Irons. Now, the issue with John is that his suit is out of commission because of last episode with that fight with Pia. He's still trying to, get material together to repair his suit, like some stuff from the DOD and everything like that. So all he can do is really run. But the issue with that is that Henry Miller can fly. Now, at the same time, Clark and Lois are having a talk where he consoles Lois over the whole future and, the surgery situation and stuff like that. But luckily, Clark is actually able to hear all the commotion going on with John and Henry Miller in downtown Smallville and is able to intervene as Superman. Now, we do get a cool fight scene. It is in the dark, so you can't say ridiculous amount, but it's still pretty cool. You can actually see that Henry Miller is quite a bit more powerful now after his rejuvenation chamber experience. Now, John Henry is able to call to his kinetic hammer to defend himself because he has no suit, but the kinetic hammer is still working. But this is the thing. He hits Henry Miller, but he actually kills him in the process. And this doesn't please Superman. John Henry has gone that step too far, and I'm very intrigued to see where that leaves John Henry in the episodes following. He's killed a man now, but the thing is that Henry Miller's probably going to come back alive because he's already been killed before. So he's probably going to come back alive, but it makes you wonder, will he be even more different then? So John Henry could be a big part of some drama that happens later in the season if Henry Miller does get revived again. So yeah. And also he's just got that kill count on him now. He's got 1 kill. So yeah. Big move, John Henry. But speaking of John Henry, he can't escape it. So Natalie confronts John about keeping Pia away from her son and husband. And to be honest, Pia is a serial murderer. Like, she doesn't deserve it. She doesn't deserve to see her son. And Bruno doesn't deserve to see Pia, or Pia doesn't deserve to see Bruno, vice versa. They don't deserve it. However, Mateo is an innocent party in this whole situation. So I feel like has the right to see whoever he wants to see. So I think John keeping Mateo away from his mum is wrong. Even though that would be benefiting Pia, even though Pia's like sort of like under it as well. She doesn't seem to be conscious, at least at the moment. So I think in regards to looking at him through Mateo's POV, or at least, just looking at Mateo's situation, yeah, I think John might be in the wrong there. But I think in regards to keeping Bruno away from her, in the right. Bruno's doing dodgy stuff. Pia's literally a murderer. She doesn't need to have any satisfaction there. But I think Mateo should be able to at least say goodbye to his mum or something if she is going to die or something like that. But that's probably something to address in the next episode or two and see what happens there. But the thing with Mateo is that he might start to line up with his father, because Bruno takes him down to the secret subway station lab area thing. And who's there? Well, it's Bizarro. And Bruno tells Mateo that Bizarro, or this Superman, holds the cure for PR, and it seems like Mateo's going to go along with it. So, yeah, hopefully Mateo doesn't turn. I think he's probably going to make a big decision over the next couple of episodes in regards to where he lies in regards to his morals. But he might side with his dad. He might, but we'll have to wait and see. Now that, end sort of part with Clark and Lois, especially that scene where Clark is sort of like reassuring Lois in regards to post-surgery and everything like that. Bitsy Tulloch in that scene was awesome. Even the scenes where it's just Clark talking and Lois is reacting and just sort of taking it all in. It's solidified. It's just clear MVP, but I think this is her best episode by far. Like, Tyler Hoechlin was really good as Clark in this. I don't know if he's his best episode. Still a really good episode, but I don't know if I'd put it like number one. But Bitsy Tulloch was insane. And then the scene where they went outside, she put the dress on again, they floated up in the air and stuff like that. I thought it was great. This whole episode was very emotional, that Clark and Lois stuff. And I wrote at the beginning of my notes, and I forgot to say it. We have the show, it's called Superman and Lois, but sometimes you just have some Superman stuff there, some Lois stuff there, and sometimes not a ridiculous amount of Superman and Lois. This season there has been, but this felt like a pure episode of Superman and Lois combined, like one entity. So well done. As I said, well written, well acted, well directed, just pretty much everything done perfectly across the board. And as I said, I think it could be, at least in regards to a quality style, maybe not like a fan favorite thing, but a quality style. I think it easily the best this season, but maybe the best the show's ever done. It's actually sort of insane. And I wasn't expecting it going into the episode. So it sort of took me off guard. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Let me know in the comment section down below. What did you think of this episode? Are you with me? Do you think it's maybe not the best episode, but like a top 3, top 5 episode the show's ever done? Do you agree? Let me know in the comment section down below. What do you think of the episode as a whole? Do you have any theories and predictions moving forward? Where do you think Mateo's going to go? Do you think he's going to side with Bruno, or maybe go on Natalie's side and maybe the good guys? But yeah, let me know your opinions down there in the comments. And of course, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to drop a like, and it shows support. And if you enjoyed the episode as well, and if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, and I'll catch you guys later. Goodbye.